Hello, everybody. We'll get started with the webinar at this time. Before we get going, let's do a quick systems check just to make sure everything's up and running all right. Type OK in the chat box if you would, if you're hearing me clearly and seeing the screen okay. All right, great. Thank you all for joining. If there are any issues as we go along, just let me know. Obviously, based on the title you're looking at, we're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies today. Boy, is there a lot going on today. Some great movements and really some huge opportunities maybe to try and take advantage of as we get going. Now, as always, keep in mind, all investments have risk. This is also true for trading Forex, CFDs, spread betting, options, especially when you're trading with leverage. You can increase the risk even more. But obviously, we're all here because we also understand there's also with that risk comes great potential for profit as well. So as we go forward, keep in mind what we cover is meant to be educational in scope. It's not meant to be financial advisement. So what we're looking to do is bring information to you, ideas from experience that might be useful for you as you're either improving upon your trading strategy or building your trading strategy if you're new to things. So keep that in mind as we go forward. And listen, I think we all know at this point a bit about the technology behind cryptocurrencies. The whole blockchain technology concept creates a lot of stability within the network. It's a very secure type of technology. It's decentralized, which is very important as we get into trading strategy to understand there's not one central location for cryptocurrencies. It's a decentralized sort of system. And we don't need to get into all the slides and details about that. But in general, there's not one nation to call home for any of the crypto brands, which makes them kind of independent somewhat of a lot of the fundamental news that comes in from different countries. If you're trading on regular currency pairings, they more often are affected by the economic announcements from those countries, European Union, USD, Japan, etc., that the currency comes from. Whereas, there are no jobs numbers for crypto land because there is no crypto land, right? So that's something you keep in mind as we go forward. I'd like to look at a bit of fundamental news before we move to the demo account to look at some of the movements on the live charts. So fundamentally speaking, we do see some information coming in recently about cryptocurrency in general, not just Bitcoin, but also the altcoins, what they refer to as alternative coins, alternative to trading on Bitcoin, that there's been a lot of bearish momentum, okay? Meaning negative sentiment, movement downward on the charts as you pair them against USD or yen or euro. So that's the general feel in the article even today. This again, they're talking about bearish momentum today on the cryptocurrencies. It doesn't mean it can't change, but it's good to know that that's the sentiment right now. Bearish momentum. If we look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, EOS, what do we see? Red or green? Are they moving up or down? Red, 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 red. Okay, so if you had to pick right now, which way's the sentiment, up or down? Which way's the wind blowing based on this headline that came out today and everything being red, 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 red that we see here? Yeah, down. Okay, so if you're on the fence, you're 50-50, you're not sure which way to go, keep in mind what we see with the sentiment right now. There is some positive news, okay? Brazilians make 2.5 million crypto transactions in just 8 weeks. Okay, so that tells you the market is somewhat strong still, even if there's bearish momentum right now, if there's negative sentiment right now. In general, the market for cryptocurrencies, we keep seeing good things. More people investing, large amounts of transactions using for actually buying and selling. They're not talking about traders like what we're talking about here on MT4 platform. They're talking about actual purchasing and selling of products, transactions using cryptocurrencies. So it's a very useful technology now, more and more being mainstreamed with banks, with major retailers accepting payment in different forms of cryptocurrencies. They're putting in the hardware actually to do transactions with cryptocurrency instead of regular currencies. So we're seeing positive stories for cryptos in general. And you know, this isn't just about Bitcoin anymore. They're talking crypto transactions, not just Bitcoin, right? So the altcoins as well, the alternative coins. Then we go in and we say, well, what are most of the cryptocurrencies paired against in general? We do offer cryptos, you know, Bitcoin yen, Bitcoin euro, but most of the crypto pairings are paired against the USD. So we better know what's going on with the USD, right? And wow, what an opportunity right now. And I want to show you something. Look at this headline from last night, okay? It shows, you know, just after midnight today. So late last night, early this morning. China warns U.S., you know, raising doubts over trade deal. Boy, that was bad. USD was weakening. Gold was shooting up. And look what just came out. If you check the headline on Reuters, they still don't have the good news showing, but you want to check multiple sources. Look at investing.com. U.S. and China move closer to phase one trade deal. That just came out today. That's breaking news just 29 minutes ago. Okay, by the time 29 minutes ago when I pulled this up 10 minutes ago. So, okay, 40 minutes ago. Just broke. They just agreed that, hey, maybe we are going to roll back tariffs. The U.S. says maybe they're going to roll back tariffs and let's get a deal done sooner. When yesterday they just said it probably won't happen until next year. So, wow, what a headline. What do you think happened with the strength of the USD when that headline came out? What do you think? Is the USD bullish from that or bearish? Is it strengthening or weakening with good news on a trade deal? Yeah, bullish, good news, right? So keep that in mind if you're trading Bitcoin against the USD or Ethereum against the USD, etc. We already have bearish momentum on the cryptos, meaning we expect maybe they'll drop. Now you pair it against the USD, which has all kinds of reason to climb, to strengthen. That's called pairing a weak horse against a strong horse. I go over that a lot in the webinars. It's a good setup to try and find something that you think should strengthen and pair it against something you think should weaken. Okay? And we could look at the economic announcements too. Anything negative for the USD today? I don't see any announcements on the USD. These are scheduled announcements, some good announcements on the euro and on the pound. So if you're pairing against the euro, that's good news. Okay? So lots of decent news for the market, especially with the China trade deal. There's some US announcements later today, but not right now. Okay? So looks like good news for USD, bearish news for cryptos right now. So let's go to the chart with that in mind. Here's Euro USD. Look what happened. This is 5-minute candles. This just happened. Why did the euro drop? Well, because it's paired against the USD, not because the euro was necessarily getting weaker. The USD strengthened with that China news. That's how new this is. It just happened. Okay. If we look USD JPY, look at that through the roof. The headline came out 40 minutes ago. Go back 40 minutes. That's when this climbed. It's right on cue. Okay. So USD is strengthening. Let's look at the pairings then with cryptos. And by the way, look at the indices. Look what's going on. NASDAQ through the roof. Dow Jones through the roof. Probably going to hit new highs sometime with this type of news. No guarantee, but look at the bullish momentum. I'm not saying it has to keep going up, but that's positive sign for the markets with that kind of jump. So what about the FTSE? Up. CAC up. Okay. So we see bullish momentum for the markets and for the US dollar also. What do safe havens do in this case? What do safe havens usually do? When there's good news and the indices are climbing, they drop. And guess what has been mimicking gold's movements recently? We've looked at it several times with the crypto webinars. When gold was dropping, so were the cryptos. When gold was going up, so were the cryptos. People have been viewing cryptocurrencies as safe haven because they're not tied to an economy. They're not tied to any one country, just like gold. So we've noticed over the past, I don't know, 6 months, there's been a lot of correlation between cryptocurrencies and gold as safe haven type movements. Not 100%, obviously, but there were some correlations there, strong ones. So if we expect safe havens to weaken right now, if we also saw an article that we just looked at that there's bearish momentum on cryptocurrencies, we just saw today's article, and there's reason for the USD to strengthen. We just looked, it is strengthening against other currencies. Then maybe we can find some opportunistic entry points for our cryptocurrencies. So let's look at Bitcoin. Wow, look at this. Here's the bearish momentum that the article was talking about, right? Bitcoin was dropping. Look at this opportunistic rise in Bitcoin paired against the USD. And now what might we expect to see happen? Look at this old support level right here. You see this was a support level. Support, went back up, and then it took strong momentum to break that. This is a breakthrough candle, larger than the other candles. That's what we call a breakthrough candle. It means there was a lot of momentum. It took big news for this to break this support level here. And now it acted as resistance. It broke it. You see this wick? It tested it, went right back down. And now look where this rise slowed. Look where this bullish movement slowed, right at the resistance level. So technically speaking, this is a spot where you could think about selling on Bitcoin, just from pure technical analysis. I'm not saying it has to drop. It could go up, break the resistance. I'm not telling you to sell, but I'm showing you the strategy. Resistance level, old support level, momentum broke the resistance. It tested it with this wick and it held. Now it was rushing upward and stopped just before the resistance. Okay? So if we think, let's add up the scenario right now. I'm going to paint a picture, and then I want everyone to type what they think. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I just want to give the information. There's bearish articles on cryptos in general, bearish market sentiment. There's positive bullish movement on the USD. Okay? Bitcoin's paired against the USD here. We've reached a resistance level, technically speaking, for Bitcoin, and it's respecting it right now. There's good news about U.S. trade deal with U.S. and China, which means safe havens should potentially weaken right now, which we already see gold dropped. We have confirmation of it already. We know there's been correlation between cryptocurrencies and gold. Gold already made its move down. So with all of these things, what do you think the move is here for Bitcoin USD? What makes sense? What picture is painted? Sell or buy? Okay, it looks unanimous. Everyone's saying sell. I am not giving you signals. I'm not telling you to sell. What I'm saying is, if the information adds up and it makes sense to you, then you can sell, right? So if you decide to sell, which it makes sense to me, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me to sell. Where might you put your stop loss? If you sell, where would you put your stop loss? Just above the resistance. Okay, that's the suggestion for many of you right now. Makes sense to me. If there's truly negative momentum, bearish momentum, and truly the USD is strengthening, and if cryptos are going to mimic gold, which already dropped today, then it makes sense. It shouldn't break the resistance. So put your stop loss up here, limited risk. Look at the potential drop. Where might you take your profit if you're scalping? Where might you take your profit? At the first what? Albert, I tend to agree with what you're saying, but I can't tell you to sell, right? I'm not allowed to tell you that. I believe the all the details are adding up that it seems like this should drop. But again, no one move is guaranteed, right? So limited risk. A few of you have suggested putting stop loss above the resistance. Okay, great. You see down here's the support level, right? The recent support. It tested it right back up. So if you're scalping, you might say, okay, if it is going to drop, it might hesitate to go further. When it reaches that support level right about there, you might take profit, right? You don't have to take profit there, but technical analysis says that's a logical spot where you might, okay, before that first major support level down there. And if you do that setup, let's say you took a market sell, your risk is about 1/4 or 1/3 of the potential profit to your take profit down here. So you have 3 to 1 potential profit compared to risk, something like that, approximately. So you only need to be right on something like this 1 out of 3 times, and you're about breaking even. And if you're right 50% of the time, you're profiting. And honestly, why shouldn't you be right 50% of the time or more? You've got all the fundamental news on your side right now. You're taking the move that you think makes sense. Honestly, if you set things up like this, the hope is you're going to be successful greater than 50% of the time. But with this setup, you can profit with being right 40% of the time. Limited risk in this example with much larger potential profit, and the market's the wind on your side. Okay? Hello, Thomas. So someone mentioned a little bit ago when I said, seems like everything is saying to sell. So one of you said, so buy. I get what you're saying. You think maybe there's market manipulation. You think maybe when everything says sell that you should buy. Listen, if you feel that way, then go ahead. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy. If you feel like things always go the opposite of what you think they should, then you could buy. But what might be smart? If you're going to buy, what might you wait for before you buy? And I'll show you an example in a second. What might you wait for before you buy? Confirmation of what? What would you wait for? If you took a market sell, you're getting out if it breaks the resistance, some of you said. If it goes up above that resistance, when might you get in on a buy? What would convince you that there's an uptrend? If it breaks the resistance, right? If it breaks through this resistance and turns into an uptrend, what kind of pending order could you have right up here just waiting, just in case things go the opposite of what you thought they would? If you're selling now, let's say you did a market sell. By the way, it already moved the right way some while we're talking. There's another red candle that started forming. What type of pending order would buy if it breaks through the resistance? Yeah, buy stop. Some of you are putting buy stop. Type okay if you're still hearing me clearly. I'm not getting as much response as I usually get. Please type okay if you're hearing me clearly. Just taking a pause here. I'm not seeing the system responding. So please type okay in the chat box if you're hearing me clearly still. Okay, testing. Please type okay in the chat box if you're hearing me. My side is showing the microphone working, but I'm not getting. Okay, I got it. Okay, you guys are with me. Sorry for the technical issue there. We're up and running. Thank you. I see all your responses now. There was just a little delay in my system. Okay, great. So, yeah, it would be a buy stop. Okay, buy stop is a type of pending order that if it breaks through this resistance, then it goes right. And uh, and if your original move is right, let's say you did a sell, then you never activate your buy position up here. No problem. But it makes sense a lot of times that if you think it's going to go the opposite of what the market's telling you, and sometimes it happens, you need to wait maybe sometimes for a reason to think that. A reason might be if it breaks this resistance, then you say, ha, I was right. It did the opposite of what everyone was thinking. But until you get confirmation of that, you might not really have a reason to place that buy position. Okay, so you can always back things up because this could be wrong. It might not drop. And you can back it up with a buy position if it breaks the resistance level, for example, to buy from just above the resistance, which then would maybe become support. Okay, all right, so any questions on that? In one example, going market move with the fundamental news. The other example, backing it up maybe with a pending order in case it breaks through the opposite way. What if you're afraid? Let me ask this. What if you're afraid that there might be breaking news on one particular crypto, but the rest of them would go the way you're expecting? But what if, I'm showing Bitcoin right now. Ethereum is doing the same thing. It went up, leveled off at the resistance. You see Ethereum looks the same. Support level right here, support, broken support, resistance. Okay? How could you diversify things? Ripple looks the same way. Came up, resistance. Okay? What could you trade on that we offer? Like the Dow Jones. You're not trading on one stock. You can diversify, and if a breaking news story comes out about one of the crypto brands, the whole group of them still could move the way you think. Albert, you think automatically for every seller there has to be a buyer? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Uh, you know, uh, brokers can hedge with outside liquidity providers. If Avatrade has everybody selling right now, nobody's buying, they could widen the spread, or they can hedge. And Avatrade does a lot of hedging. We don't work against our clients. We don't hope they lose, right? No legitimate broker does that. The way it works, everyone can be selling, and the price can sell and drop, right? And we're okay as a broker because we went with the clients and hedged outside if it's unbalanced that much, right? So in the end, the company makes the profit is supposed to come from spread. So if we hedge with an outside liquidity provider because it's a much larger single move, right? We get a tighter spread than the clients get. So even if the clients win, we win, we had a tighter spread than the client, and so the profit is still coming from spreads for the broker. So don't be worried that because everyone's selling, the market can't drop. It certainly can. It's okay. All right. So good question. Good point too, because a lot of people might think that the broker has to be working against you or else the broker loses, and it's not the case. They're matching orders internally, many brokers matching tickets inside in both directions. When it becomes lopsided, brokers hedge to the outside, okay, to keep things balanced. Now, okay, so my question though, I was asking, what could we trade on? We have an indice. Thomas, if you don't have an account manager, you could request to work with me. If you already have an account manager, I'm sure you're all set up. Yeah, Ebert, the Crypto 10. Thank you. That's what I was trying to get to. We have an indice now for cryptos. So just like the Dow Jones, it's 30 major companies across the economy. If the Dow Jones right now is rising, right? My name's Troy Fry. The indices are rising right now. We saw it. We took a look. Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P, CAC 40, etc. rising. if one company had a bad earnings report, it doesn't mean the whole indice drops. You could still be right to go with it with the good news on the economy. And that one company being an outlier doesn't mess you up so much, right? Because there's 30 of them in the Dow Jones 30 or 500 companies in the S&P 500. Contact support if you need anything like that, Engelbert. Okay, so so the same with the crypto 10. We looked at all these cryptos. They're all kind of doing the same thing right now. The top 10 cryptos are in that index. If Ethereum gets an article that say, hey, people don't, people love Ethereum now, or some great report comes out about Ethereum and Ethereum shoots up, but the other 9 are dropping because there's bearish sentiment on cryptos, you still could be right with the index, even though if you were on the one, you'd have been wrong because it had some breaking news unexpectedly. It's less likely that all 10 of them in the index would have unexpected news, right? So it's more stable in that regard, trading on an indice, on an index. So the crypto 10, we've added that to the platform for that reason. It adds more stability and predictability potentially to the trading compared to an individual cryptocurrency. So it's very nice. If you're not trading on the indices, Dow Jones, CAC 40, we offer a ton of them in addition to now the crypto index. And it's a nice way to go. It combines the combination of good volatility because it reacts to the greater global economic news, but also predictability because it's diversified within the index across multiple assets. So it's a good combination of two things. Any questions at this point? So let's look at a few more of the assets. We've got Ripple up there. We see it's trying to make up its mind if it's going to reverse into a downtrend, still climbing right now. Bitcoin, same thing, testing the resistance, right? So if you sold, you're still hanging there. You're waiting for the reversal, right? If you bought only with a pending order from up here, you're not in yet. You're waiting for confirmation of a breakthrough, right? So now, if you're selling, did you have to get in yet? Not necessarily. How can I confirm a downtrend from this movement before I sell? You can zoom in to the tighter candles, meaning the smaller candles, 5 minute, 1 minute. And when I look at 5 minute candles, what would I be looking for? You see the high points are still getting higher. Let me get a trend line. You see the high points are still getting higher, right? Higher, 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 higher. The low points are still getting higher. What are you looking for before maybe getting in on a sell? What are you looking for on the smaller candles before getting in on a sell in this example? Confirmation of what? Lower lows, lower highs. Confirmation of a reversal into a downtrend. Good. A bearish pattern. So right now we've got the fundamental news that's bearish. We're saying, okay, the USD should strengthen, which would pull the cryptos down. There's bearish sentiment on cryptos, which works in your favor on a sell. And you're saying, okay, I'm still going to wait for confirmation of a downtrend maybe. Many times that is the difference between getting a good entry point and getting in too early. So right now, high points are still getting higher. It's still testing the resistance. You got your buy stop waiting up here if it breaks through, and you're waiting for the high points to start getting lower and the low points to start getting lower before you sell. That's an example of, a crowning formation, or some people say comes to a plateau, and then the peak starts to drop like the other side of the mountain starting to go downhill. Okay, once you see that, then maybe that's enough to tell you, now I sell. Now the upward momentum has died. Okay, it's not the only way to trade, right? But it's a way that technical analysis can help you many times avoid getting in on too early on a movement. Okay, and you see it's still testing the resistance. When you see, instead of the low point here getting higher low point, you see higher low point? higher high point. It has not reversed yet. And you might use Fibonacci levels. Yeah, Paul. Fibonacci levels are nice. You can use that. You can use other indicators to help you. I like to see it visually. I like to manually see that my high points are not getting higher anymore and my low points are not getting higher. Then I say, okay, that's a downtrend. If the high points are getting lower, low points are getting lower. Now, if the fundamental news is in my favor and the resistance level held and I see a reversal, now I've met maybe the 3 or 4 things in my checklist to say, now I sell. Okay. And you can create your own checklist. My checklist doesn't have to be your checklist. Engelbert, are you hearing me okay? You're typing sound problems. Looks like everybody else is okay. All right, so type yes if you understand what I'm saying about the confirming the trend with the smaller candles before you get your exact entry point. And that can be the difference between a good entry point and a great entry point in terms of timing. Yeah, okay, maybe eventually this drops, but maybe you got in early if you didn't wait for that downtrending pattern first, right? Maybe you'd had a better payout if you zoomed in on the 5-minute candles and waited for confirmation. Okay, great. So listen, everybody, I think this is a good place to stop. We've got a major resistance level on pretty much all the cryptocurrencies, including the indice. If we go to like 30-minute candles, we see here's the support level. Okay, support, 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 breakthrough. The index did not quite reach the support yet, so I'm not surprised it's still climbing a little, right? We can see it did not reach the resistance level right here yet, the old support level. It didn't reach it yet. If you're willing to risk a little more and you think it's going to drop, you could sell now, put your stop loss above here, understanding that it still might climb, test the resistance before it drops, right? Or if you're more, you like to be more exact with your entry points, you could wait and see if it tests the resistance before you get in. Wait for a confirmation of a downtrend. But we see it did not break the resistance. It didn't tell you that it's a strong uptrend. It didn't break the resistance yet. 5-minute candles, you might wait for the reversal. Okay, you might wait. Then get in. That's a personal decision on do you wait to see the reversal or not. Some people are just happy with the resistance level. This old support, there's the resistance. If the fundamental news is on your side, maybe you make your move when you're ready, right? And everybody's when they're ready can be at a different exact time. Not everyone's the same. Okay, any last questions before we end things here? And right now I'm showing the crypto 10. Sets up really nice for a potential move here, along with the other cryptos we looked at really. Okay, great. So we'll just summarize real quick. I would always check the fundamental news. What's the latest news? We see bearish headlines. We see positive news for US dollar. And then we go back. We find proper technical entry points and we go in the direction that we think makes sense. Very simple process. And really, if you're right even 50% of the time, you should be able to make nice profits, honestly. And I don't see any reason why you can't be right at least that often with these types of moves. We'll take a look Monday. If you come to the webinar Monday evening, we'll take a look at how these turned out from the movements after today. If we have any breakthroughs for buy stops, or if we have a nice reversal for market moves. Okay. All right. Good luck with your trading. I hope you make some nice profits with these crypto movements today. And be in touch with your account managers if you need any help. Okay. All right. Bye for now. Hopefully I'll see you next week in the webinars.